Hey guys, thanks for checking out my origins and bio for Fatality. Be sure to stay to the end of this video to see my final thoughts on the Best of Green Lanterns mini-series that we've been doing here. It's been a lot of fun and I have a few things to say about it all. So before we get into my bio of this character, I do want to talk a little bit about why I picked her. Fatality was basically one of only a handful of choices I had for the Star Sapphires, the most obvious one being Carol Ferris, but while I like Carol, I really find Fatality an interesting twist on her character. As an old school member of the Green Lantern Corps Rogues Gallery, it was interesting seeing her in a new context where she takes on a different role as a Star Sapphire that ultimately reveals a lot about what that Corps is all about. Carol's case and relationship with the Violet Lanterns has always been a little different than the rest of the Violet Lanterns and how they are drafted into this group. And it's important to note as we go into this bio that yes, while the Violet Lanterns are often on the side of good, it is worth noting that their emotional entity is not some friendly little snake like the Green Lanterns or a pretty bird like the Blue Lanterns. No, it's a being called the Predator. The Violet Lanterns are on an extreme end of the emotional spectrum that can be best compared to the Red Lanterns. So there's a lot of volatility there, and Fatality gets into a lot of that. As we get farther into this character's history, it's really crazy to see just how sinister it all is, and well, we'll get into it shortly, but pay special attention to that because I found that stuff very enlightening and it's pretty much why this character is being talked about here today in this video. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out all the other origins and bios I did for my favorite characters from each of the Lantern Corps. And if you want to see other videos about character bios and history, as well as just other cool comic book stuff that we create along the way, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching, and enjoy the history of Fatality. Her name was Yura Cyril, and she was born the oldest child of a ruling family on a world called Janshi in Space Sector 1313. She was sent off-world to be educated by the warlords of Okara to be the greatest combatant in the universe, the first of her kind to ever do so. While Yura was gone, a Green Lantern named John Stewart made a mistake and was unable to prevent Janshi from being completely destroyed by a deadly device called the Blink Bomb. Yura was left the sole survivor of her people, and she swore revenge against all Green Lanterns, not knowing who specifically was responsible, nor having any consideration for the fact that the Green Lanterns had a vital role in the universe as intergalactic peacekeepers. She left Okara and took up the name Fatality. Yura began traveling to the universe and managed to kill a number of Green Lanterns, collecting trophies as she went. She would go on to claim to have slaughtered over 100 Green Lanterns before her quest was suddenly ruined. The Green Lanterns rapidly collapsed as an organization due to events completely outside of Fatality's control, with only Kyle Rayner continuing as what was then the last of the Green Lanterns. Yura attacked Kyle on Earth, and their battle took the two out into space, onto the surface of a desolate planet. She learned there it was John Stewart who was responsible for her world's death, before she lost an arm in the battle against Kyle and vanished. The woman re-emerged on Earth with a prosthetic arm, only to be defeated and seemingly killed once again, this time by John, the man she hated most, who had been living injured and without his Green Lantern ring on Earth for some time. Yura would become a persistent thorn in the side of the Green Lanterns, even emerging with a yellow power ring that she had found. Kyle managed to convince her to remove her ring in the following battle, which turned out to be rigged to explode if this was done. She was captured as a result of this, where a guilt-ridden John Stewart would visit the unimpressed alien woman. Though she was still furious with the man, her words inadvertently helped him recover from a psychosomatic injury. When he returned to thank her for this, Yura calmly informed her foe that his recovery would just make her revenge that much sweeter once she finally achieved it. Fatality was eventually freed by a man called Major Force. She attacked Kyle again as part of a deal with Major, and was defeated by the Green Lantern once more. Now having suffered a string of failures, Yura decided to resort to the strength of numbers, and would go on to join groups like the Secret Society of Supervillains and the Injustice League to bolster her chances against the Green Lanterns, while once again wielding a yellow power ring on occasion, the safer version from the Sinestro Corps. Yura would battle a number of Green Lanterns and superheroes over the years, especially after the Lanterns began to return to life within the universe. She was one of many villains who was exiled to a hostile planet far away from Earth at one point. Yet in spite of the danger that other villains and even parademons working on behalf of an all-powerful being called Darkseid posed on this hostile world, Yura managed to escape and slip away unscathed. Eventually, she was captured by a group of aliens called the Zamarons, masters of the violet energy of love. They forcibly converted Fatality into a Star Sapphire, imbuing her with their power but essentially brainwashing her with their desires and feelings of love. The woman who had dedicated her life to revenge against John Stewart suddenly had forgiven him completely. Her will was essentially erased, and she now claimed to want John Stewart's love rather than his head. She found the Green Lantern on Okara, battling a powerful being called Larfleeze, who uses the orange powers of greed. She helped John before departing, encouraging Stewart to forgive himself as she had suddenly forgiven him, claiming that her people weren't as innocent as John might have believed. Fatality became a key member of the Star Sapphire organization, participating with them in conflicts against other domains of light, such as the Sinestro Corps, the sinister Black Lanterns, and the rage-fueled Red Lanterns. Throughout all these wars and conflicts, Fatality served her superiors without question. She was eventually dispatched to Earth after one of the violet rings belonging to the Sapphires suddenly approached Kyle Rayner. With a gathered group from the entire emotional spectrum, each following their own rings that had also done the same and found Kyle, the Lanterns gathered briefly fought before finding themselves in front of the massively powerful Guardians of the Universe, the original creators of the Green Lanterns. The Guardians attacked this group of potential enemies on sight, and in turn this gathered group of Lanterns, dubbed the New Guardians, was only saved by Larfleeze. Fatality agreed to work with them on a number of missions, confronting threats to the Violet Lanterns such as the angel-like being called Invictus, a deadly army called the Reach, and even Larfleeze himself, before eventually the group broke up, though the woman did make a number of key connections with certain members of the team. Her and Kyle seemed to have developed a sense of respect for one another, while her time working with the Red Lantern named Bleeze would prove pivotal when a number of Red Lanterns were captured by the Star Sapphires. Yura later worked with John Stewart on a quest to revive a sentient planet named Mogo, and as they continued working together, even helping the other Lanterns defeat a powerful entity called Volthoom, the First Lantern, the two started a romantic relationship. This continued very briefly, with the two of them working together for only a short time until Fatality was secretly replaced by a being called the Durlan. It impersonated her operating as a spy while working at John's side, while the real Yura was imprisoned and tortured. This was eventually discovered, and John was able to find the real Fatality, where he learned that she was finally and completely freed from the influence of the Star Sapphires. Now no longer under their control, Yura violently turned on John, claiming that everything she had done since her indoctrination into the Star Sapphires was due to their influence. Thus, she broke off their relationship entirely, and declared him, as well as the Star Sapphires, to be her enemies, all of them. John had trouble believing this, and that at least some of their relationship had to have been real, but Yura insisted otherwise. In spite of these words, she was later seen once again working with the Star Sapphires. The exact context of this is unknown. Yura could be secretly working against them, the Zamarons could have forcibly brought the woman under their control, or maybe whoever wrote that particular comic had no idea Fatality was no longer a Star Sapphire. Let's face it, it's probably that last one. Regardless of the case, that's it. That's the end of my origins and bios for each of my favorite characters from the Green Lanterns. It was a fun little ride, and I have to say, I knew it wasn't going to be the biggest series in the world or the most popular characters because these were my favorite characters, the ones that particularly speak to me, and they're all kind of off the beaten path choices, not the mainstays for any of them, with the possible exception of Agent Orange. but that one's pretty easy, and I really didn't have a lot of choices in that one to begin with. But it was fun going over Green Lantern history. I know my stuff when it comes to the Geoff Johns era, but filling in the gaps from before and after that has been interesting. I did check out the existing comics from Grant Morrison's ongoing run of the Green Lantern that he just started with, and I really like what I saw so far. We probably will talk about it at some point in the future. We do have another Green Lantern video in the pipeline at some point, but for now I'm going to be taking a break from all things Green Lantern and moving on to some other interesting stuff, including one particular project I'm quite excited for. So be sure to stay tuned for that. Thanks a lot for watching, and if you've checked out all these videos, thanks a whole bunch for seeing all the cool characters that I particularly like in Green Lantern lore. And finally, don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep reading comics.